Hello, this is Dr. Stuart Hoover. I'm the owner of Essential2Health Advanced Natural Health Care Center. I'm a doctor of natural health and I'm board certified in integrative health. I'd like to welcome you today to our presentation on how to get into the pH zone, the perfect health zone. Now, the information provided in this presentation should not be used for diagnosing or treating a health problem or a disease. It is not a substitute for conventional medical care. If you have or you suspect you may have a health problem, you should consult your healthcare provider. The statements contained within this presentation are for educational uses only. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. Now, I'd like to start off by talking about the state of health in America today. And why are we the unhealthiest and most overweight country in the world? We have the most advanced medical system in the world. Unfortunately, our medical system today is really focused on the identification of disease and the management of disease, and there's little or no focus put on prevention today. Most of the foods that we're consuming are manufactured and processed, providing little to no nutritional benefit to our bodies. We're spending billions of dollars each year on diets, dietary supplements, and exercise programs that are really providing little to no sustained results. Folks, there is no one-size-fits-all fix for this. Each and every one of us have to become more educated in prevention and take a more proactive approach versus being reactive when it comes to our health. Now, our lifestyle has a huge influence on our body's health, and the question I want to pose to you today is, are you giving your body what it needs to stay in the pH zone? Again, our lifestyle and environment have a direct influence on our cellular health and will ultimately determine the body's ability to fight disease and maintain health throughout your life. Now, every time I sit down with a new client in my wellness center, I like to go through this illustration with them and really take people down to the cellular level in the body. You know, our body is not that complicated when you look at it from a cell level. We are made up of trillions and trillions of cells that make up all of the tissue and organs in our body. Now, these cells are suspended in fluid. Upwards to 80% of our body is fluid. So, folks, basically, we are cells and fluid. Now, this fluid environment we refer to as biological terrain is really what dictates the health of the cell. Now, through this biological terrain, when we consume good healthy foods like our vegetables, whole grains, fruits, good lean proteins and fats, and certainly plenty of good water, all of this comes into the biological terrain once we've digested it. Now, these nutrients make their way into the cells, so the cells can produce energy, they can repair, and our cells can communicate. Now, after energy is generated within the cell, toxins are released. We call this metabolic waste. It's like an exhaust that is pulled out through our lymphatic system, bowels, and kidneys. So we have an exchange of good things coming into the terrain and bad things going out. And the key, folks, is really keeping this biological terrain healthy and stable so the cell membranes can stay pliable, flexible, they can absorb nutrients into the cells and release toxins back out. Now, healthy foods and proper hydration support a healthy biological terrain, and that really is as simple as it is when we start thinking about improving our health. Now, environmental toxins have a huge influence on biological terrain, and we are exposed to tons of toxins today. I like to call these the silent and unseen toxins. There are tons of toxins released into our air each year through car emissions, factory emissions, things that we're breathing in every day. Our groundwater sources are very polluted. There are hundreds of chemicals that are used in our municipal water systems that we're consuming every day. Even trace amounts of pharmaceuticals are showing up in our water systems. We bring a lot of toxins into our house through cleaning products, first aid products, personal hygiene products. All of these chemicals have a huge effect on the biological terrain. Now, most toxins, believe it or not, we choose every day. This would be the foods that we're eating, the fast foods, all of the processed foods, the refined foods that we're buying at the supermarkets, tobacco, alcohol, prescription drugs. All of these items create a tremendous amount of stress and toxins on the biological terrain. And folks, what's happening is it's simply leaving us with a very unhealthy, sluggish body. Now, let's go back to the biological terrain for a minute. And when we're putting in these processed foods, these highly refined foods, high fats, high sodium, high preservatives, high refined sugars, and things like soda pops. What's happening is we're not supporting a healthy biological terrain. We're literally just putting toxins into this fluid environment. And folks, it simply overloads the biological terrain and creates literally a septic tank, like a sewer, inside our body. And what happens is these toxins just build up and they create a tremendous amount of oxidation. Many people have heard of free radical damage. We refer to it as oxidative stress in the body. What happens when we get this overload of toxins in the biological terrain, and a lot of this is caused from pure dehydration. Most people aren't drinking enough water today. They're consuming soda pops and coffee, sugary drinks, and what's happening is there's not enough fluid in the biological terrain to begin moving these toxins out, so everything just backs up. Now the cells are exposed to these toxins, the cell membranes begin to oxidize, I like to call this rusting, and the cells begin to break down, and now it's harder to get nutrients into the cell to make energy. That's why many people have cravings today, because we're not bringing nutrients in so the cells can produce energy. And what happens is the signal to our brain is that we're not getting fuel into the cells, so we begin craving things like sugar, and these cravings can become pretty intense. So this is kind of what's happening at the cellular level in our body. Now, highly acidic foods and beverages increase oxidation, this free radical damage in our body, and it simply causes our body to begin aging very rapidly. You know, most people in the West today are aging twice as fast biologically as they are chronologically. Many people have heard of real age today, and real age is really our biological age, and many times in our clinic I'll see people in their 40s and 50s that we can determine through biological measurements that they've aged 20, 30, sometimes 40, 50 years beyond their chronological years. So we're really aging twice as quick as we are chronologically. Now I want to talk about two very important properties that we measure in our clinic, and these two properties are pH and ORP, and they're extremely important to your health. Now a pH, potential of hydrogen measurement, reveals if a solution is acidic or alkaline. Now if the solution has an equal amount of acid and alkaline molecules, then the pH is considered neutral, and we're going to talk more about this in a minute. Now, ORP, or oxidative reduction potential, is an indication for the antioxidant level of our bodies, or the antioxidant ability, how our body is able to reduce oxidation, this rusting we were talking about a minute ago. Now, positive readings indicate oxidation and toxicity, and again, we're going to talk about this in more detail in just a minute. So these are a couple of the key measurements that we use in our wellness center, and people that are really looking to improve their health, these are two things that you really need to understand. So let's talk a little bit about pH first. And maintaining a balanced pH environment in your body is key to optimal health. Now the pH scale runs from 0 to 14. 7 is our neutral point. Now anything below 7 is acidic. The closer it gets to 0, the more acidic. Anything above 7 is alkaline. And of course, the higher we go towards 14, the more alkaline that substance or solution is. Now, in order to maintain a proper pH in our body, we would have to consume only 10 to 20% of our daily foods should be of a neutral or lower pH. Upwards of 80 to 90% of the foods that we consume each day should consist of a neutral or higher pH. So this would literally mean that we would have to eliminate most, if not all, refined and processed products in our diet. And unfortunately, the standard American diet today consists of 90 to 100% acidic foods. Most of the people I sit down and work with in my clinic, initially when we begin looking at diet, are consuming 90 to 100% of foods on this side of the fence. Now what happens in our body when we're consuming these acidic foods is it really puts a strain on the body's ability to maintain a neutral pH. And for the sake of simplicity, we're going to say 7 is about where we want to maintain the internal environment in our body. Actually, our blood pH, which is the most delicate, should fall around 7.35, and there's a very narrow range of what our blood pH can go in and out of. If it goes much below that or much above that, folks, it's bad news. We're not going to be around very long. Now, when you look at certain foods that people start out the day with, like coffee, I mean, you think about coffee. It's such a huge part of our culture today, and most people get up in the morning and first thing they do is have a cup of coffee. Now, coffee has a pH of 5 or less. A lot of people will stop on their way into work and grab a soda. Soda pop, folks, is one of the worst things you can put in your body, and it carries a pH of less than 3. It's extremely acidic. Now, little tidbit, what happens when you consume coffee or soda, it begins to put a tremendous acidic load on the body. So what happens is our pH begins to drop. Now, in order to neutralize that, if we're not bringing in specific foods that are higher in alkaline, which most people aren't, our body begins relying on its own internal resources. And the first place our body will go is in the bones, and we start extracting calcium, which is the easiest to access of all alkaline materials in the body. So we begin flooding this biological terrain, the blood, other fluids, with calcium to help bring up our pH. Well, over time, when we're consuming this type of diet, we just keep pulling out, pulling out, pulling out. And folks, that's going to leave us with a deficit as we get older, and especially in the bones. And we're seeing osteoporosis, a little epidemic today for both men and women. So again, we need to recognize that the types of foods we put in our body help to balance pH, and that's really the key to maintaining optimal health, is maintaining a neutral pH inside our body. So let's go back to the biological terrain for a minute. You remember I mentioned that 80% of our body is fluid. That surrounds every cell in the body and has a direct impact on the cells in the body. So wouldn't it make sense that we start really paying attention to this fluid environment and begin taking care of it? And folks, it really can be as simple as drinking good, pure water. Every day we need to hydrate our body with a specific amount of water, which technically should always be 1/2 your body weight in ounces. So if you weigh 150 pounds, you should be consuming 75 ounces of water per day. That's not other fluids or other beverages, okay? Now, one of the things I want to talk about is, when people are drinking coffee or soda pops, we mentioned that a minute ago, we know they're highly acidic, but when you drink 1 cup of coffee, you should turn right around and drink 14 equal parts of water to neutralize the acidity drop in the body. If you're drinking soda pop, folks, that's a 24-to-1 ratio. So if you drink 1 can of soda, you should turn right around and drink 24 equal parts of water to mitigate the acidity in the body, and that's just impossible. So the key is keep those out and focus more on hydration. But if we want to take it a step further, what if we could hydrate with water that was a higher pH level, so we could really help support this internal environment and take a lot of the load off the body from having to rely on its internal resources? Now again, as we talk about water in this fluid environment in our body, one of the easiest ways to support balanced pH in the body is by consuming alkaline ionized water. And this is something I have looked at for years in my practice, and I highly recommend to our clients, is using a good quality alkalized water in the body. Now, when you're consuming alkalized water, what you're doing is you're increasing the pH level of the water. Now, these ionizers can increase the pH level in the water considerably, even up to 11. Now, we're not going to consume water that's high of pH, but there are other benefits to using high pH water, such as in cooking or cleaning our vegetables. But consuming water that is around an 8.5 to 9.5 can be very beneficial on supporting that biological terrain. Another benefit to increased pH water is it increases the ORP value, the oxidative reduction potential value of the water, which provides more antioxidant protection. And folks, those antioxidants are what protects us against aging. And one of the things I love about using a good quality alkaline ionizer for your water is it reduces the need to take a lot of extra supplements, like extra antioxidants. And what my clients are finding is it's nice to not have to be taking handfuls of these pills. They're just consuming water, which they should be doing anyway each day, but they're consuming something that is supporting the biological terrain, and it presents quite a cost savings. And I think most people find that that cost savings will pay for an ionizer very quickly. Now, not all water is created equal. I want to talk a little bit about water because a lot of people write into me, email me, ask me about different types of water and the pH value. So we're going to get into that. And I'm also going to address water ionizers because not all water ionizers are created equal either. Now this chart that we've put together, and by the way, this chart can be downloaded at ThepHZone.com, so you can have this to start looking at the types of water that you may be consuming and see where it falls on the ORP in the pH chart. So the top of this chart is showing the ORP values. Now the most beneficial ORP values are going to fall in a -100 to -700. As a matter of fact, the lower that value goes, the more antioxidant protection is in that water. Anything above a +100, you're going to see has become less antioxidant protective for the body. The higher it goes, the less antioxidant potential we have in those fluids. So you'll see with the ORP values over here, waters like Aquafina, Perrier, Deer Park, you can see Fiji, all these waters, Dasani, Evian, tap water over here, Propel, the vitamin-infused waters. You can see they have a very high ORP reading, which means very low oxidative stress potential. Now, when you look at the other end of the chart, and one of the ionizers that I highly recommend in my clinic is the Alive Water Ionizer 7.0. Now, this can produce upwards of a -700 ORP, which is producing a tremendous amount of antioxidant protection. When we look down here at the pH scale, and remember 7 is our target in that fluid, that biological terrain in our body, you can see tap water is generally at about a neutral pH. And the reason that tap water is a neutral pH is they don't want acidic water running through these pipes in our municipal water system or it'll rust the pipes out. So they're adding chemicals to help increase the pH, and even things like lye. And folks, lye can be very toxic over time in our body. So tap water is typically about a 7 on the pH scale. You'll see some of these other popular waters, Arrowhead, Fiji, and then you start going below 7 more towards these acidic waters over here. Some even as low as a 3 pH like Dasani, Propel, the vitamin waters, Aquafina you can see is pretty acidic. So again, you can see most of these popular bottled waters are running very low on the pH chart and unfortunately providing little to no antioxidant protection. Now again, we look over here, the Alive Water Ionizer can produce a pH water upwards of 10 to 11. So again, you know, big differences when we look at these waters. So not all water, folks, is the same. Now I truly believe through research that I have found the best water ionizer on the market today, and it is the Alive Water Ionizer 7.0. This is the water ionizer I recommend in my clinic. I carry this in my clinic, and I'm fully supportive of this company. And one of the reasons that I selected this ionizer first was quality. Anytime I go out and begin looking at a product, I always look at quality, and certainly cost is a factor as well today. Now the Alive Water Ionizer 7.0 was the only ionizer I found with FDA approved safe plastics. You know, the plastics have become a big problem today, and many people are hearing about the BPA, the polyvinyl chlorides, all these things that have been used in plastics for years, and unfortunately these chemicals are providing an estrogenic effect in the body. We call these xenoestrogens, and there's been a lot of link to certain types of cancers to these chemicals that are used in these plastics. So that was very important to me to know that we're using FDA approved safe plastics in these ionizers. Another thing was the certification, especially the ETL certification, Electronic Testing Lab certification. And this is really a big certification when you begin looking at a lot of this technology that is produced overseas. That's just where a lot of this comes from. And a lot of companies have UL certifications and other electrical certifications that are done in-house, but ETL is a third-party independent certification. It's very expensive for companies to get that certification. They're using a third-party source, so that was an important factor as well. The Alive Water Ionizer is an advanced 7 electroplate design ionizer. This is what provides that really good ORP value and as well as that high pH reading. There are seven healthy water options that you can select from, very easy to operate. They provide a limited lifetime warranty. That was important for my clients. I wanted to make sure they had something that was going to last for many, many years. And this particular ionizer, folks, cost hundreds to thousands less than the competitors on the market. And too many times I've had people come in my clinic telling me they've spent, $2,000, $3,000, $5,000 on ionizers. And folks, that's just too much money to be spending on this technology. Again, you can go to ThepHZone.com for more information on the Alive Water Ionizer 7.0. Now, remember folks, our lifestyle is truly the key to influencing our health, and also understanding that our environment has a huge impact on our cellular health, which ultimately affects our whole body's health and the body's ability to prevent disease. And when you look at the types of foods that we're consuming today, the processed, manufactured, supersized foods, the lack of exercise that we're getting, we've become a very sedentary society today. Our children, you see, obesity is at an epidemic level with kids today. They're coming home from school after sitting all day in a classroom, grabbing a bag of chips, the cookies, they sit down in front of the TV for 4 to 6 hours or playing video games. Childhood obesity is absolutely out of control today. Folks, even our pets are suffering from our ill ways today. And you know, this type of unwell lifestyle is just causing epidemics and disease in our country. And one of the things I'd like to just mention real quick is over 80% of chronic disease in our country, folks, is preventable. That's cancer, that's obesity, that's diabetes, that's heart disease. All of these epidemic diseases we're seeing today, folks, are literally linked to just a poor lifestyle. And you know, our bodies were not designed to be diseased and sick. A good, healthy lifestyle, eating good quality foods, good foods that help balance pH in our body, getting moderate exercise, drinking plenty of good water, breathing good fresh air, folks, all of this promotes a healthy lifestyle, which is going to support a healthy biological terrain and is going to help support healthy cells, which equate to healthy tissues, healthy organs. And folks, this is really what gets our body in the pH zone, the perfect health zone. And again, our bodies were created to live 100 to 120 years disease-free. And the first thing, folks, I encourage you to do is join us at ThepHZone.com. Take a look at the Alive Water Ionizer 7.0. I think what you're going to find is this could be one of the anchors to helping you begin improving your health today simply by consuming healthier, higher alkaline ionized water. Folks, something we should be doing every day anyway. We're just consuming higher quality water that's going to support a more healthy biological terrain. And as a gift to you, when you order the Alive Ionizer 7.0, I'm going to include my 100 Days to Wellness plan. This is a program I use in my clinic every day. I've used it with thousands of clients to help them improve their health naturally. This plan covers several key areas, from detoxification to healthy lifestyle practices, all designed to help restore and balance cellular health, bringing you into the pH zone. Now, when you look at a plan, folks, and everybody should have a wellness plan, and I use plan as an acronym. P stands for something that's personalized, something, folks, that you're comfortable with doing, and most importantly, something that is proactive. We have to stop being reactive today and waiting for something to happen. You know, we really do live in a world today that recognizes health as simply an absence of a symptom or absence of disease, and I call that being allegedly well. You know, when you look at statistics, folks, today, everybody will develop some sort of disease in their lifetime. So let's not wait for that to happen. Just because we don't have a symptom or we're diseased yet, we need to really start being proactive in maintaining good balanced health. The L is we got to start thinking long term. Unfortunately, you know, we've gotten so caught up in all the short term magic bullet fixes out there, and when you look at the billions and billions that are being spent on diets, these quick fix fads, programs, exercise equipment, these magic pills, it's not really changing our health landscape. We didn't become unwell overnight, and I always tell my clients it takes a little bit of time to become well, so we got to start thinking long term. A stands for setting achievable goals. Don't set the bar so high that you're just going to get frustrated and quit really easy. And unfortunately, a lot of these programs we see today, the bar is so high, most people after 2 or 3 weeks just give up. So set achievable goals. And my most important thing is the N in our plan, and that is no excuses, folks. There should never be an excuse standing in the way of improving your health. It truly is our greatest asset, is our health. Folks, I certainly appreciate you joining us for this short presentation on the pH zone, the perfect health zone today, and I encourage you to join us at www.thephzone.com and begin your wellness journey today. I'm Dr. Stuart Hoover, and I wish you all the best in health.